Hello and welcome to the wow, I screwed that up. Hello, welcome to the Gravel Trap podcast. I'm your host, Sean, and on today's show, I've got fellow co-hosts Don and Zin. How's it going, guys? Wow, that's the first time I've messed that up in a minute. So,
So you are human and not an android. Got it.
oh, definitely not.
Wasn't
Screwing up all the time. Listen, it wouldn't be our podcast if we didn't screw something up.
I
So.
was gonna say, wasn't that like back in the day with Kyle Petty accidentally kept calling NASCAR Winston Cup instead of freaking
Oh,
Sprint Cup?
well, remember when
It
they
was
used
just
to just
last week when Clint Boyer dialed up. Was it
Kyle Larson?
Kyle Busch as Kyle Larson? Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, he's like Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson. Eh? So
We're just art imitates life.
right, all right. So how was everybody's past weekend?
Good. I've been
Well,
slicing my finger.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't even the
technically,
weekend. That was just today.
Technically, it's like my weekend because I got tomorrow and Wednesday off.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair. Tales of retail.
Right.
No, my weekend was good. Went up to visit in-laws. It
Didn't
was
start off
my
good.
wife's mother's birthday on Saturday. Got to watch storms roll in and split to go around us, so we didn't have to be pelted by hail or anything. And then the day after we left, they were under a tornado watch, so missed all that. So pretty good.
Yeah, the weather's been crazy this whole spring, man. It's wild, all the tornadoes and stuff.
Apparently, one of the tractor trailers that got blown off the highway in Kansas was full of Ferraris.
Oh no!
Discount.
Yikes! This is cheaper Ferrari.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Get your Ferrari for the price of a Fiero.
Yeah, slight dent.
yeah. Out here, we've went from severe drought to almost 8 inches of rain in a week, which is wild. So,
Not great.
yeah, I mean, luckily everything's holding together. So, but yeah, I had to work all weekend, so it is what it is.
No.
Alrighty, let's jump right into some sim racing news here. It was just dropped yesterday. The iRacing Season 3 development blog was posted. I'm not going to read it word for word because it's quite wordy and lengthy, but just kind of hit on some of the interesting bits of this. So, as far as new tracks go, in the blog, they did mention that the Bend or the Shell V Power Motorsports Park, which is what it's known as now in South Australia, is coming to the service. Just 100 or so kilometers southeast of Adelaide, which is still being worked on and for the game as well. So yeah, that track is coming. Interested to see how that track plays out in the sim. It's got looks like it's going to have multiple configurations.
Yeah, 7, I think, right?
Yeah, 7. There's yeah, a lot of different. Looking at the track design layout, yeah, it's quite an extensive motorsports park.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, excited to see that track. They also talked about rescans and remodels getting added for season 3. So Iowa, Richmond, Sonoma, Worldwide Technology Raceway or Gateway,
Talladega.
Charlotte, North Wilkesboro, and Talladega. Or those are under the the free updated refresher tracks, and then Talladega, Martinsville are also included in that.
Mhm.
So it'll be interesting.
Maybe with the Coda refresh, they'll finally update the damn curbs.
Yeah, be interesting to see. I hope they also with that update as well. They add maybe some adjustment to track limits with it too. But
That's right, because every time you look at a corner, 1x.
right,
Well, the problem with Coda is like other F1 tracks that are in the game. It uses the center line of the car versus using, 2 tires or all 4 tires.
oh, hello, Chris. Welcome to the
Hello.
podcast.
About time.
Somebody decided
So
to finally look at their phone and put Doom down.
yeah,
I'm sorry. I thought we
Were
were
you trying to
you know-
play Doom on your Tamagotchi or something?
No, I was waiting for you to fucking join the thing.
me and Don have been sitting here
hour,
for
2
like an
hours.
hour and a half to 2 hours.
I've been
wait,
I
here
don't know
for
where
half
you've
an
been.
hour.
Yeah, you were slaying demons while me and Shaw were talking. So.
But
Yeah.
as I drink my tea, that's none of my business.
Yeah,
Okay,
bitch.
Kermit the Frog. But yeah, so anyway, so the problem with Coda is where the detection point in the car is for the track limit. If they change that, that's a half measure. They need to do that plus update the actual usability, especially through the S's and all of Sector 1. Not outside of NASCAR, like I don't even think IMSA used the full runoff between 19 and 20. IndyCar did, but NASCAR is really the only one that does. But even WC uses a lot of the curbing in the S's and doesn't get dinged for track limits through there. So
Right.
I hope they do something with it and don't just update the visuals. It's a perfect opportunity. You're already in there updating stuff. So
Right.
I hope with Sonoma we get the green grass version. That would be amazing because it was green when they rescanned it when the repave happened and they had to go back and rescan the repave of
we need a classic. We
repair
need an
of
old
the repave.
brown. We need a brown.
No.
No.
The track looks amazing green.
If you want all brown, go race in the desert at Willow Springs.
Mhm.
This is wine country. It needs to be beautiful green grass.
Nah, I like it when it goes in NASCAR and it's all brown.
Well, NASCAR is dumb for not going there in the springtime when it's all green.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, so I'm excited for it. Apparently Daytona's on that list too to get updated visually, which I didn't think was needed, but
Yep.
No,
for
we
it.
can keep it how it is because I know what they're gonna do. It's gonna be all
Yeah.
concrete.
Yeah, well.
So yeah, and then obviously yeah, so we got Circuit of the Americas are also on the list. Darlington, Daytona, Indianapolis, which I don't know.
Didn't they
Indianapolis
just
or-
do Indianapolis though?
Yeah,
When they
Lime
got
Rock
the-
Park, Phoenix, Texas, and more. So yeah, and then yeah, so that's the full list of reskinned or refreshed tracks. Let's see here. Moving on to some cars. The only cars that were mentioned in the blog update were the Ferrari 296 Challenge coming to the service.
Called it.
So some quick information about that. It's 120 degree, 3-liter V6 twin turbo that revs to 8,500 RPM. Reimagined aerodynamics with a focus on reducing pitch sensitivity. An F1 derived 7-speed gearbox, full 4-wheel brake-by-wire system with advanced electronic brake distribution and ABS capabilities, and all new enormous 408 millimeter carbon ceramic disc brakes. Comprehensive 2-stage driver adjustment traction control, electronically controlled differentials, fast ratio electronic power steering that's adjustable, and a bespoke tire just for the series. So yeah, obviously for those of you who play iRacing know that there has been a Ferrari Challenge series, but they've generally been running off just the GT3 model of the car. So this will bring a challenge specific version to the game. Which interested to see how it handles compared to the GT3 car.
I know how to get Zen going. It's just a GT2 car.
It's not.
I know. I saw his comment getting all frustrated earlier. It was kind of funny.
No, I wasn't getting frustrated. I just thought it was funny that people,
Calling it.
automatically assume that a GT car that has less aero is considered a GT2 car. And I mean, a GT2 car is basically a freaking road going car with extreme aero and safety bits strapped to it. I feel
Right.
Right.
but I mean, I'm excited for it. We've needed a proper challenge car for the Ferrari Challenge Series. What's comical is the fact that we're getting a car that has less aero and more power than the GT3 car, but keeping it a D class series, which is already a shit show in a full driver assist, full aero, full whatever, less power GT3 car.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, if you kind of look at the hierarchy of sports car racing, the challenge cars are generally below
oh,
a
yeah.
GT3
I mean,
tier
yeah,
spec.
I fully understand that. I'm just saying, in iRacing terms, you're giving lower class car or lower class drivers a car that is going to be harder to drive than the GT3 car in a series that, with the GT3 car, is already a shit show.
Right. Listen, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying, like, generally in the hierarchy of
Oh,
how sports car racing is. I mean, granted, it is easier to get into a challenge car for your average Joe people because really all you need is the money and the sponsorship up, and then you can hop in the car regardless, more or less, of experience level.
Yeah, I mean, you just buy the car and whatever the entry fee is to show up in it.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I don't know if Ferrari, I don't even think you own the car. I think you technically just rent it out from them.
I think you own it. They just store it and maintain it. So
Yeah.
it's part of the price that you pay, which is why it's one of the most expensive challenge cars you can buy.
Right. Yeah, as opposed to like a Porsche Cup car, you know.
Which, I mean, yeah, a good comparison is like if anybody's done Porsche Cup during week 13 when it moves from C class to D class, mayhem. Just don't do it.
Let's see here. Another car that was technically announced, but we've already kind of known for it for a while, is the actual official Gen 4 cars with the 2003 Chevrolet Monte Carlo and Ford Taurus coming. With there are also two distinct body packages with the Speedway and the Super Speedway package being included with the purchase of the car. So this will completely phase out the current Gen 4 car. Unfortunately, there's no mention of, obviously, if you had the Gen 4 car, getting any sort of actually, I think it was on the free side anyway, wasn't it? Or
Well, it's free for us, but originally, no, you got to pay for it.
okay.
Yeah, I think it was free for people that already owned the ARCA car, but you had to buy the ARCA car before the ARCA car got replaced.
Right. So, but with this car, there's no money back or anything you're getting with this car. That old generation Gen 4 car will be completely phased off the service and gone. So this will be the Gen 4 car. You'll have to, if you want to use it, you'll have to purchase it, either the Monte Carlo or the Taurus. So
let's hope not, but damn. All right.
No, yeah, it's a complete re-engineered car. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see how different the body styles actually are. Although we kind of know how the Gen 4 car races at super speedways and stuff like that, because just using the current Gen 4 car. Although I'm sure there's definitely going to be some handling and characteristic updates for the car. So
yeah, while we're talking, I'm just scrolling through to see if there's any comments, people asking that exact question about.
Right. Let's see here. Another introduction is another thing that's getting changed or updated is on the IndyCar side. The IR18 is being brought up to the 2025 spec. This includes the new Cosworth steering wheel. Let's see here. The improvements of the system will include they'll also include a fundamental tire itself, aero modeling, and the addition of a wet tire. And additional detailed changes include setup range limits, barge board options to have been added to both road course and short oval configurations. All tire types have been updated, resulting in an improvement to driving feel feedback and a more accurate tire condition. The hybrid model has been left out of the update, pending them wanting to get the hybrid system working properly in the GTP car before they start rolling out any other hybrid systems.
Mhm.
Although I feel like it would probably be easier for them to use the hybrid system because essentially it's just a boosted push to pass as well. But I mean, they are holding off on that. The updated
Yeah,
sound.
I think they're not waiting for the GTP hybrid to also come out with the IndyCar hybrid because it operates completely differently.
Right.
Mhm.
Now, if they're holding it back to implement a physics-wide update for how hybrids interact with the various systems, then that makes sense. But
Right. Let's see. Also in the blog, they talked about cars getting certain cars getting new updated sound models. So that's coming with a lot of cars. They'll have overhauled sound models. The Gen 7 Cup car has now undergone a significant overhaul. It features our latest release-ready tire, which debuted with the GTP, and improved aerodynamics that bring the car closer to how the teams now have the cars operating. The teams have made performance advancements over the last few years, and we have integrated similar increased in performances. The updated tire is a significant change that will refine many characteristics of the tire, including the limit feedback, slide recovery limits, and finally, we will introduce a new Gen 7 specific CFD based drafting model that will bring the driving dynamics in traffic closer to how the real car behaves in both super speedway, and short track packages. This is our most significant project this season. Was a whopper that spans 6 months of intensive development and comprehensive redevelopment. Of the GT3 class car is also being implemented. In the article, they get super detailed on everything they've changed about it. Basically, it's got a complete overhaul tire system for the GT3s, just like the GTP cars had. They were actually given models of the car and thoroughly tested the vehicle dynamics and driving specialties of each car, including aerodynamics changes of the cars. Let's see, throughout. Yeah, they've also got this new CFD or computational fluid dynamic system on the GT3 cars, same as the Cup car, NASCAR Cup cars. Yeah, let's see here. They said the fastest lap set on new tires will be around a 4th or 5th timed lap, depending on your track. It says they are now working more closely with IMSA on actually implementing having BOP changes. So you notice the cars behave more differently in small and large slides. The front height splitters have been changed. Yeah, it says another step closer to reality is the addition of front splitter heights as a determining factor in passing technical inspection. The front splitter itself as its lowest point, the front ride height at the axle center line, and rear ride height must all be above the 50 millimeter. Most cars will need to run higher ride heights. It says all current setups will become obsolete. If you have a saved
Yeah.
setup for the car, you should probably delete it as it will no longer be possible to use those setups given the new pending rule systems for GT3s. Yeah, it says, yeah, the BOPs will all be adjusted for the season. Yeah, so yeah, massive overhaul to the GT3 cars coming this next season, which be interested to see how the new tire model does actually affect the cars when we get them. So
Mhm.
Yeah, and just for clarification, this isn't the version 10 tire. This is, the version 9.7 or whatever it is that's on the GTP cars.
right,
But that's also not to say that you're going to have the same behavior that you experience with the GTPs. Like, the tires will be cool when you go on your outlap, but it's not going to take 3-4 laps to get full heat into them the way it is with the GTP cars.
right,
So you just won't be able to completely mash the gas and push from pit exit like you can now.
right. Let's see some other cars that have received some miscellaneous updates for season 3. The 79 Lotus and Super Formulas all have rain tires now. The F4 car has received a full dry and wet tire rework. The BMW M4 GT4 has been upgraded to the Evo version of the car. The car will update automatically, and you don't need to do anything specific to get this new version of the car. They've updated the steering wheel on the BMW Hybrid V8 to reflect this current generation of car. Let's see here. Unfortunately, the phase 2 variant of the GTP car, the one that deals with the hybrid system, has been pushed back from season 3 to season 4. It says that they are still working on this and feel like it needs a little bit more work before they fully release it. So, which I'm fine with. If it's not ready to go, don't release it
Push it out.
yet. So, let's see here. Some other features.
Oh my god.
They've fixed, or they've been working on VR overhaul. They've added. Let's see here. It says VR is a key focus at iRacing and has been since the beginning of iRacing. Beginning when iRacing and Oculus collaborated to add VR support to the prototype version of their VR headset. We are excited to share that in season 3 will include the release of quad view fixed foveated rendering support for RTX 2000 series plus GPUs. This is implementation of the foveated rendering issue. Uses 4 different views to render the scene with higher fidelity and processing power focused on the areas in line with the driver's head and a lower fidelity around the fringes of the scene. The result is fewer overall pixels rendered with expensive pixel shaders. This rendering optimization will add additional performance and headroom as we all eagerly await the release of a new rendering engine that is well underway. So for those of you who use VR, you'll notice an upgrade to that.
Of course, I can't even test it because my VR just broke. So
Well, don't break it.
Let's see here. They've continued to improve their adaptive AI model, which will continue to be implemented in more into season 3. It says additionally, the adaptive AI support is coming to hosted races. This additional offers a unique challenge, rendering system support and several real racers rather than just the singular racer and singular race. The addition is testing well, and we look forward to a wider release. It says we are rolling out additional 360 hertz support across multiple wheels and are close to adding haptic support to multiple wheels. More information to follow later on. They're continuing to work on the UI, a new sim UI. That doesn't say that it's going to be released to season 3, but it says they're working more closely to getting it done. Obviously, they're continuing to work on their new rendering engine and their new physics engine as well. So those are coming in the future still, as well as the actual career mode. For iRacing, my guess is we probably won't see a career mode until probably season 4 once we get closer to the NASCAR release. But they are moving forward with it. So yeah, let's see here. It says the demo, drive, and maintenance modes are now completely integrated directly within the application. There were some foundational steps to allow for other types of offline accesses like a career mode and AI championships. So they're moving forward with that. Let's see here. Future cars and track content. So they're are still working with many interesting projects, including the addition of GT3, GT4, and GTP cars. More of them coming to the service. They're looking to extend their dirt road car offerings. Our high performance open wheelers will be seeing an exciting addition in the near future. That will allow us to represent a new tier rear world competition. New tier real world competition better, and we're just scratching the surface here with more to come down the road. Yeah, let's see. They're currently working with Mexico City to get that track done. We updated our Miami data, and now the Grand Prix has had its May race build up. We are working thoroughly, transforming the facility to a more accurate represent race day. We also have a handful of city tracks down the pipeline. I mean, if that means we get Toronto, that would be cool.
Mhm.
Or yeah, some other ones. So yeah, that is pretty much it. Like I said, the full article or the full blog is up on iRacing's site, so you can go to take a look at that for absolutely every word for word detail. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. Like I said, interested in seeing how the new Ferrari is, the Gen 4 cars. Rain tires for Indy cars is going to be wild. It's probably going to be a shit show. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's a pretty good update. You know, it's a bummer that there's certain things that aren't included. I was hopeful that we would get the GTB hybrid system rework, especially with the Majors 24 event coming up. but I'd rather them get it right than rush it. So
Right.
So I was scrolling through the forums trying to see if there was any mention about what's going to happen to the current Gen 4 car. Nothing was posted, but I did come across somebody asked about if there are any updates on the rework of the roadside race control, such as multi-class start zones, the pit stop animation for Road Series, etc. And Greg Hill responded and said the project is underway, but I'm reluctant to offer estimates just yet. That said, we're thrilled with the team's expanded capabilities in the areas of race control, as well as the progress that's already been made. Sorry to be vague.
Yeah.
So, in typical iRacing fashion, hashtag soon.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and I mean that's fine. That's one of them things that when we, I mean, it will eventually get it. It's just how long we have to wait for it. So,
Correct. Yeah.
I don't know. That's all I have for sim racing news. I don't know if you guys have any other sim racing news you want to talk about.
I mean, it seems like they're working on some other kind of back end stuff. The visual tuning for how rain and reflections are done. They mentioned that they're working on how shadows and shaders are calculated and so forth. So hopefully some of the issues that I know I've experienced this season and other folks have as well. It more or less confirmed that 360 hertz force feedback is going to be coming to Asetek and a few other wheelbases as well. There was a bit of a brief update on the physics improvements that were being done. Something interesting is that they also mentioned that in addition to the 360 hertz force feedback, they were also looking at haptic integration as well. I'm trying to
Yeah.
find where that text was at in here. Um, do, do, do.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they did say that they were working on haptic force feedback on the wheel side too.
Yeah,
So
hardware. Yeah, we're rolling out additional 360 hertz support across multiple wheels and are close to adding haptic support to multiple wheels. So curious what that's going to look like.
mhm.
Um, I will say that it was kind of confusing at times to figure out if what they were talking about was something that was coming up in a future build or if it was going to be included in the season 3 build. So um I mean, it sounds like a lot of the track reconfigurations are confirmed, but some of the others, like it talks about refresh of tracks currently in the works, like we talked about with Coda and Daytona and Darlington, those things. But there wasn't anything that explicitly said like this will be in season 3. So maybe that's like seasons past where they'll turn around and say, "Well, we were close, but it just didn't make the cut" or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
They
I
might
mean,
commit to
obviously,
it.
yeah. Once we get closer to week 13, or actually get to week 13, they will have the full release notes and stuff. So we'll, get the final say on what made it and what didn't. So again, we'll come back to this topic again in a couple of weeks here. So
Yeah, I mean, it seems like for sure that we're getting the new Roval layout at Charlotte. Something I'm curious about because they were talking about the Chewbacca sound being added to the IndyCar for the anti-lag. I wonder if that will get rolled out into the Acura GTP as well because it's another car that has that same sound.
right.
And I did see people asking that in the forum posts, but I didn't see anybody directly respond to it. So it's going to be interesting on the IndyCar side because they said that they're updating it to 2025 specs, but not including the hybrid system. So, a lot of the driving dynamic of the 2025 spec IndyCar is based on the implementation of the hybrid system. And drivers have talked about the weight balance shifting because the hybrid being at the very back of the car and whatnot. So, interesting to see how that's going to work. Obviously, nobody on this podcast has come anywhere close to driving an Indy car, so who are we to say that it's going to drive wrong? But it will be interesting if whenever the hybrid system does roll out, if you actually notice a difference other than just the power delivery changing.
I'll be able to tank slap it even easier in the Indy
No,
500.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding. But I mean, the screenshots look great. The new scan of Wilkesboro, the new scan of Lime Rock and so forth, looks really, really good. So we'll see. I mean, we got 3 weeks before it comes out. So
Yeah. On trackside, I would love for iRacing to like it. It's cool and awesome that we get the newest, latest, greatest version of each track, but it would be cool for them to roll out historic versions of tracks too.
yeah, I mean they've got the capability of doing stuff without fully having data. I mean, iRacing Super Speedway. I mean, they created the Chicago layout. They experimented with the Roval layout before it got changed. I mean, they can do it. It may not be 100% accurate, but yeah,
apparently there's still some beta variant of a short track California track that is sitting in files that I mean they're
I wouldn't
apparently
be
the
surprised if there's one for Texas too.
the cup drivers have apparently driven, but there's never been anything else brought up about that. I mean, now that pretty much California is dead, that they should just roll us out with that variant of the track too and let us play around with it.
Yeah, but I mean, it'd be cool to have like a historic Spa or historic Hockenheim.
Oh yeah, our
something
historic
like that.
Laguna Seca,
Yeah. Or like when they bring Adelaide, do a historic Adelaide and current Adelaide.
Yeah, so that's one thing I do really like about like games like Automobilista and like the mod community for Assetto Corsa is like all these old tracks you can just download the mod for them or hop in the game because they have them in the game, and just if you want to hop in a period correct car and just run around that variant of the track, you can. So I mean, hopefully one day we start getting some historical tracks, and that's one thing. I don't know. It'd kind of be nice, like, because I know Junior and stuff like that are really into historical, archiving and stuff like that. That we would get more historical tracks, and who knows, they behind the scenes he might be pushing for that stuff. It just hasn't come to fruition yet. So
You'll probably put the H pattern to use at that point.
But so yeah, like I said, we'll come back to this season 3 topic when we get the actual patch and release notes here in a couple weeks.
So one other sim racing topic that came out this morning. So Asetek launched their Sim Sports Forte Formula Pro wheel. So this is a step down from the Invicta wheel, for those that are familiar with it, but kind of follows the same design ethos. As this article from Traction.gg says, the Forte Formula Pro is the second Asetek sim racing wheel to feature a built-in screen, following in the same footsteps as the range-topping Invicta wheel. It appears that it's the same screen unit that is used in the Forte as it is in the Invicta. It's a 60 hertz refresh rate, 4.3 inch touchscreen, featuring an 800 by 480 resolution. Notably with the Forte wheel, I don't know if it's this way with the Invicta wheel, but it has 3 different screen options for dash displays that you can use.
They did say that was the thing that they had for both of them. It's the same across all of them.
Okay, because when I was watching Matt Malone's video, he he was saying that the hybrid mode was new, so they may roll it out as an update to the Invicta.
It's most likely. I mean, if it's on the Forte, it's 100% gonna be the Invicta. So
But yeah, so you can use Asetek's Race Hub software to use dashes through the software. It has native SimHub integration, so you can use any dash that's on SimHub, either pre-loaded or community created. Or they have what's called a hybrid mode, which is basically you can use, for instance, a SimHub dash, but then get notifications for when you're changing brake bias or TC. That Race Hub software would control the notifications and pop up over the SimHub dash, which I thought
Okay.
was pretty cool. I haven't seen anybody do anything like that. So major differences between the Invicta and the Forte is the Invicta being CNC machine for the entire housing. The Forte wheel is a material that they call a glass fiber reinforced material. So it's I think the same construction as the current or the first, the current Forte Formula wheel. It's got all aluminum button caps, aluminum rotary dials, thumb encoders, 7-way funky switches. Um, it's going to have a carbon look to the front plate, but I don't think it has an actual carbon plate like the
no,
Invicta wheel
he
does.
said it's. I mean, right now it kind of looks like they. I mean, because it was a prototype, it looks like they're in La Prima wheel, but
Yeah,
they
but
said there
it'll
will
have
be
a
like the
carbon
carbon thing
texture.
like you see on the normal Forte wheels.
Yeah. So you'll have because this is how Asetek has moved all their wheel. They call them button boxes. So you have the option of handle choice. You can choose from the LMP handles, their XL handles, the suede handles, or just the regular handles. Um, it has full capability to run 6 paddles, but it will only come with 2. And you can swap out the ones that come with it for the carbon paddles that are like on the Invicta steering wheel. Unlike the Invicta, there is no customization of the button cap or knobs or dials for color. It comes in a gray and black colorway. It ships with orange 7-way funky switch knobs, but it comes with black in the box if you want to swap it
Yeah.
out. And then button wise, compared to the Invicta, it doesn't have the 2 buttons on the back. And compared to the normal Forte Formula wheel, it has 2 less buttons, but that was an omission that they had to do to include the screen. But it has 6 aluminum thumb encoders, 3 aluminum rotary encoders on the front, and the 2 aluminum 7-way funky switches, and 10 aluminum capped buttons with LED backlighting for the labels. So
Yeah,
it
2
doesn't have
switches and 6 thumb wheels.
3 rotary dials, 2 kinky switches, and 6 thumb rotaries. So pricing, it is significantly cheaper than the Invicta by almost about 50%. So pricing in Europe is 629 euros, excluding VAT, or if you order it from the global store, it's 649 US dollars excluding VAT. Pre-orders did open today. The caveat, though, is that there is not an ability for U.S. customers to pre-order directly from the U.S. warehouse or U.S. distributors right
We're
now.
paying the tariffs.
So you have to pre-order from the global store, which means that you are going to pay tariffs at whatever the rate is at the time these ship, which is currently targeted for approximately August 20th. So it's just
Whatever China and America decide to agree on upon what tariffs are going to happen.
yeah.
You
So
get it.
you can pre-order it today. Your card won't be charged until it ships. It's just if you're wanting to order it from a US based warehouse or a North American distributor, you're going to be waiting much longer, and there's no guarantee that the promos that are in place right now are going to be in existence at that time. So right now, you can get 10% off using code earlybird 10%, all combined. If you order the wheel and handles by themselves, but if you order the wheel, the handles, and the carbon paddles, To get all 6 paddles, you can get 15% off using code earlybird15%. And those discount codes run through June 15th.
So yeah, if
Hoping
you're
that the
gonna
tariff
buy
is
this-
15%.
Yeah, so if you're gonna buy this wheel, act now on the discount codes to help
Yeah.
combat some of the
Mhm.
tariff price.
Well, the problem is that because they don't charge it until it ships, it like the price isn't going to change, but the tariff that you pay when it's delivered may be different
Well,
than
yeah,
if it was to
that's
be shipped
basically.
out today.
Yeah.
So, the 15% effectively pays for either the handles or the paddles, or you can choose to say, that'll cover your
Shipping.
tariff tax when it gets delivered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it cannot be combined with any other codes, whether it's Matt Malone's or Basic Ollie's codes.
Oh,
Dave Cam, yada yada.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't get an additional 5% off on top of it, but it's still something. So definitely intrigued by it. Unfortunately, you may be able to see. Well, I don't know, because it would have to be a production unit since it hasn't gone into
Yeah.
the way the
I mean, they
Invicta
still
was
they have the
set up.
production ones. It was just their engineering sample at that point.
Yeah, because when the video dropped today, he did say Andre Asetek CEO did say that they actually recorded it about 3 weeks ago, but they decided to drop it today when I guess pre-orders were available. So it's definitely a very nice looking wheel. It follows a lot of the ethos of the Invicta wheel, but at half the cost. And realistically, the only things you're losing is a CNC housing and 6 paddles right off the bat and a couple buttons. But I mean, compared to my GT Neo that I have in front of me, it has the same number of buttons, same number of kinky switches. I've got 4 rotary encoders versus 3, but only 2 thumb encoders versus 6. So it's got more options. Plus, I don't have a screen. I've got a standalone dash, which
Right.
And then
It's
for
in the
me,
way.
it's like if Asetek comes out with a dash at some point, which I mean, I wouldn't see why not. I'd probably end up getting that because I mean, I have the round wheel and I have the Forte wheel, so it's for me, it's like I can live without it.
I mean, I'm definitely intrigued by this. So it also has, I forgot to mention, just look at the picture, it has 2 on-off toggle switches at the very top as well.
Mhm.
But
That is all. I mean, I have that on the Forte wheel, so
yeah,
Right.
I know, but it's on all of them.
Nobody cares, Chris. Nobody cares.
Yeah. So I'm intrigued by it. I mean, it's basically $700 after shipping and whatnot. If I turn around and say sold my GT Neo wheel for a couple $100, then it's basically
Right.
a $500 wheel that functions at twice the price point.
Right.
So that's kind of how I've developed a mentality on evaluating products is, if it performs like something that's, it should be priced a lot higher than it is for what it functions as, then I think it's a pretty good
Right.
buy. But the other thing too that the video called out, which is not mentioned in this article, it has the capability of being mounted on non-Asetek wheelbases.
Hey, Sean,
Um,
I'm gonna
Huh?
head out and catch myself falling asleep here from work today.
see you later. Now.
Oh, well, you're gonna
Oh,
miss
yeah.
all the motorsport
I
stuff.
know. I just caught myself going, "Whoa."
Oh,
Go
okay.
drink an
Sorry.
energy drink.
Yeah. Stay up till 2 a.m.
But you guys have
Yeah.
a good one.
You're
It's
20
only
again.
10 o'clock. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my god, you guys kill me. You have a good one.
All right, later,
Yeah,
Don.
right. Blame Chris for starting so late.
Me and Don have been on forever.
But yeah, so I believe if I remember right, Andre said that there will be a plate that comes in the box. You just attach the USB cable, and then attach the adapter plate, and then you can use that to bolt up to a different wheelbase's quick release system. And then you would use the USB cable to obviously plug into your computer. So Yeah,
So it is an option for me.
it would be an option.
Yeah,
Yes, it
although
would.
you need your Fanatec tub thingamabob.
Nah, yeah, that's true. But
Go to sim racing machines. It's better and cheaper.
yeah, you can just do that and get a cheaper one. So
Yeah.
and not are they in the United States or are they not?
They're in the UK.
Okay, well, so
So you're
Maybe they're
paying
in
tariffs.
Australia, hang on.
I'd have to pay a little bit of tariff, but not horrible. But anyway, that's kind of it for sim racing news. Can move on to motorsport news.
Yeah, they're in the UK.
Yeah, so like I said, pay a few extra bucks in tariffs, but not as horrible as some other places. So, all right, moving on to motorsport news. First topic I've got here are the obviously this past weekend was all the Indy 500 qualifying stuff. So we'll get into some of the highlights on that. Let's see. During the Saturday actual qualifying to set grids 13 through 30. Let's see here. Herta had a crash with his car. He had to pull out a backup car. Armstrong also had a crash as well. And he had to go to a backup car for that as well. Let's see some other highlights here. Connor Daly starting is gonna originally when this was gonna roll off 13th. Since then he has now been bumped up 2 places to 11th, which we'll get into that here in a minute. Larson originally planned to start 21st. Obviously, he's getting bumped up 2 places to 19th. Elio will now start 22nd on the grid. Moving on to Sunday. That's another thing with Saturday. There was pretty aggressive wind during qualifying, which made the cars super sketchy to drive. And obviously, you could see that by Herta's crash and Armstrong's crash. Also, looking at some of the highlights from some of the other drivers and stuff, you could tell the tailwind down the backstretch was the cars are really picking up speed down the backstretch, but going into certain corners, they were super sketchy. Moving on to Sunday, the wind wasn't as bad on Sunday as it was on Saturday. Although, unfortunately, Scotty Mack ended up having a big crash and a flip over during the Sunday Q warm-up. He actually, the rear suspension of the car actually dug into the track, and they had to go out and patchwork the racetrack, so that kind of halted things for a little while there. Let's see. We got to the fast 12, which before we even got started with the fast 12, we learned that the Penske cars apparently had a illegal attenuator on the back of the car. Which, for those of you who don't know what the attenuator is, it's basically a crush panel structure for safety. Apparently, it had been altered in some way, and those cars were not allowed to qualify. So they were set to be 11th and 12th on the grid. And then in the Fast 6, Robert Schwartzman ended up qualifying on the pole as a rookie. So first time a rookie's been on the pole in quite a few years at the 500. He also is driving for Prema, which is a brand new team to the IndyCar series this year. So awesome to see for those guys. He's also the first Israeli-born driver to be on the pole in the Indy 500 and qualify on the pole for an American race whatsoever. So just some more historical stuff on that. Then we got to the bump qualifying, or as you would call it. Unfortunately, on that side, Jacob Abel ended up not making the race again and having to go home. But since then, I mean, unfortunately, even through all this other stuff, he still unfortunately isn't in the race, which, like I said, we'll talk about that right now. So basically, overnight, we knew that the Penske cars had some sort of illegal attenuator on the back of the car. Monday morning, they came out and said that the cars were completely disqualified. They were dropped to 32nd and 33rd on the grid, but were still going to be allowed to race. They also lost their pit selection, which they had to pick 32nd and 33rd for pit selection. Both teams were fined $100,000. Both car chiefs or strategists were thrown out of the race. They will not be allowed to be at the car chiefs won't be allowed to be at the cars for the 500. But like again, I said again, they're still technically allowed to race, which is drawn the ire of quite a few IndyCar fans and motorsport fans across the board. Yeah, kind of a wild wild thing to happen for the 500. Was that Marshall Pruitt went to the Indy Museum and took a look at the actual spec race winning car that just like the Daytona 500, when the car wins, they set it in a victory lane area for fans to take pictures of. He said that the attenuator on the back of that car was also modified.
Well, in Indy's defense, it's not like Daytona because it's not in race winning condition. So, I mean, that car, when you look at it, is pristinely clean. So they have no idea what the schedule or travel history of the car was from when it won to when it actually showed up, because they renovated the museum
Right.
last year, so it wasn't there the entire time. But
Right. But it still had the modified piece on the back of the car, which still does not look good.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, like I said, my personal opinion on this is I think that one of the Penske cars should be going home, and Abel, with a legally passing car on both days, should be in the show. I mean, that's my opinion.
Yeah. To me, the biggest problem with it is the fact that you have Penske cars involved in a series that is owned by Penske or run by Penske at a track that is owned by Penske.
Right.
It was already a shit show when they had the issues at St. Pete last year, with the, what was it, the push to pass being used during times that they shouldn't have been able to because of the modified ECU and whatnot, and the driver behavior at that point, and so on and so forth. And then you have an air of uncertainty over the marquee event for IndyCar last year, when it was a great race. It was a thrilling finish. By and large, it's a part that has no performance impact whatsoever. When you look at aero modeling of the car in that area, there's no air that goes over the side of the attenuator, which is where the modification is, for somebody to claim that, by smoothing out these panels, it's, creating less drag, which is accounting for whatever benefit it's going to come to. It's literally just a visual thing. But the problem is that per the rule book, you're not allowed to make a visual modification. So for those that are interested, I'll kind of read some excerpts here. Bazi Tatarevic, who's active on Twitter, but he's also a very technical. He's an engineer. He's worked with Lexus and IMSA. He's worked in NASCAR, and so on and so forth. But he wrote a very detailed article on motorsport.com talking about these modified attenuators. And the title of the article is Penske's modifications aren't entirely the problem. The fact that no one caught them is, which I
Right.
agree with. So basically, make a long story short, the car, as we know, the IndyCar chassis is very old. But the attenuator itself was revised for 2023, and it was the first time, kind of the biggest change that was made for the car since 2016. And it was something that was initiated by Dallara as they had more tools available to them for 2023 to be able to do better modeling of G loads and crash force impact and that sort of thing. So anyway, fast forward to 2024. As it says here, according to multiple sources that aren't authorized to speak publicly, Team Penske started receiving these updated attenuators back from Dallara in early 2024. And members of leadership were not pleased with the aesthetics of the new glued-on panels as they showed a bright glue line that stood out with a large raised edge. I'm going to stop there. If this is accurate, whoever the hell this is that's in leadership needs to go outside and touch some grass, because nobody's giving two fucks about the appearance of the technical part on a race car. It's always been above form when it comes to racing.
Yeah,
I mean, they do call it Penske Perfect for a reason.
I've seen
It
LMP2
literally
cars.
looks like every
They're-
single car. I mean,
Right.
nobody's gonna go to the fucking number 3 Pennzoil car of Scott McLaughlin and go, this car's a piece of shit because I can see the glue line on Dallara's attenuator.
That's a nice looking attenuator there.
Right. Oh, great. It looks like somebody come back there on the attenuator. Nobody's going to say that. And if
No
they
one's
do,
gonna-
they've got more wrong with them than they would like to admit.
No one's gonna dock
There
your
is one Penske, the Penske engineer guy that's grinding these down to make sure they look perfect, is mad at you right now because his anal retentiveness of making sure that these damn
No.
attenuators look perfect.
No,
No,
it's
are
no one's going
smooth.
to.
If I run my hand across it, it is now smooth.
it's not the mechanic. It's the fucking guy that's anal retentive that directed the mechanic to do it. But
Yeah,
anyway.
that's true.
No
Yeah, that's
one's
true.
gonna
The
get-
mechanic guy's like,
Oh
I'm
my
doing
God.
what to what? Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
grinding this down.
No one's-
Okay.
No one's deducting you points because your spoiler is a little brown,
Right.
or no one's deducting points because your carbon fiber isn't meshed together well.
The weaves don't line up.
So again, this is all according to sources that aren't allowed to talk, and how far you can trust that. So anyway, carrying on, it says a member of the technical leadership is rumored to have instructed members of their team to quote unquote clean up the edges of the pieces in order to make the bright glue stand out less. So these technicians applied a dark compound to the edges and smoothed them out. Once these attenuators were modified, they were cleaned up and coated with sealer per the standard procedure for many carbon fiber parts at Penske and placed into the parts rotation to be installed on the cars starting at the beginning of the 2024 season. So how long has Penske been using the modified attenuators? Based on discussions with a variety of industry figures and Team Penske personnel, these modified attenuators have been in use for well over a year. We dug through IndyCar photo archives and were able to find an easy example of a modified attenuator on the back of the pole-winning car of Scott McLaughlin's car at the 2024 Indy 500. Industry members have spotted the same modified pieces at a variety of tracks in 2024, including on the back of the Indy 500 winning car of Newgarden, which now sits in the museum at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So then it gets into where did IndyCar's tech inspection fail?
Clearly last year.
Yeah. So it says here, it asks the question, how did these parts get missed by technical inspectors for so long if they were so blatantly illegal? IndyCar technical director Kevin Rocket Blanche spoke to media at Indianapolis Motor Speedway after the 2 and 12 cars were pulled out of line and said, quote, well, there was a body fit violation on that rear attenuator. So as quick as this process happens, we ran them through tech. We got everybody in line. And then right near the end or prior to qualifying, they decided they would just pull out of line. Blanche did not elaborate on their discovery, but according to reports from the track, the number 12 car was sent to pit lane after passing through tech inspection, which this is corroborated by Tim Cindric when he got interviewed at the track. But the number 2 car was eventually stopped for the modified attenuator. At that point, the 12 car was rechecked and found to have a similarly modified part. Team Penske technicians decided to attempt to clean up the parts to bring them back to the original spec, and that's where, if you were watching qualifying, you saw the images of guys out there with angle grinders going to town on something at the back of the car, and that's
Right.
apparently what they were doing with this. But IndyCar technical inspectors did not approve of that work as it is outside of the allowed changes once you are past tech inspection and in line to qualify. Rule 8.5.6 states, while the car, whatever, we don't need to explain
Yeah.
the rule.
Basically, the car wasn't illegal.
Yeah, so according to multiple sources in the paddock, the only reason that the modifications were discovered at this specific event were due to reports from other competitors to the IndyCar technical department urging them to check the Team Penske cars. This shows a failure of the tech inspection process as the parts have gone through over a season's worth of tech inspections without ever being discovered until it was pointed out by a competing team. Now it goes into about gaining an advantage. It says smoothing out bodywork on a race car will often lead to speed as it can allow air to flow in a smoother manner over the car and reduce drag. So the assumption would be that smoothing out the attenuator could be a performance gain, but discussions with industry experts prove otherwise. Through discussions with engineers, body fit specialists, and drivers, all led to the conclusion that there isn't laminar flow across the sides of the rear attenuator, which means that the airflow over the car isn't close enough to the side of the attenuator for a rough step or smoothed out transition on those pieces to make a difference to the airflow coming off the back of the car. The fact that the modified attenuators were found on both road course and speedway configurations in images also appears to corroborate those theories, since the modified parts were installed outside of ovals where drag isn't as much of a focus as it is on places like at Indy. So again, this isn't something that in Penske's eyes they did for a performance advantage. They just decided to be anal retentive about the fact that they had a fucking lip on some carbon fiber on a spec part and wanted to fix it. So
They were saving weight.
so now you get into the debate of, is it right to punish them for it? Because yes, they did make a modification, but the modification didn't change the function and they didn't gain a performance benefit from it.
But
is
when your
literally just
rule
a-
clearly states that it can't be modified in any way, shape, or form,
And then somehow it's been modified for over a year.
yeah, that's the bigger problem that people are having right now too, is that it went on for a year, nobody saying anything, even though you could see it was modified. That should have been.
But I think the biggest issue is who else has done it. If one team's done it and saw that it's not getting caught at this point, who else has it?
Well, there's a couple more sections of this that I kind of want to call out because I think they're very, very worthwhile. And it says that it asks the question, did Team Penske violate the rules? And it says IndyCar Tech Inspection may have failed to discover the modified parts for months and likely penalized the 2 Team Penske entries a bit too harshly. Looking closely at the wording in the rule book, the parts were indeed not up to the listed specifications. And it lists the rule that talks about the very explicit list of parts that can be modified, and states that the following parts may be blended to reduce uneven surfaces and gaps. Hard edges may be tapered or blended. The listing of that rule has 16 lines worth of parts that are allowed to be modified, and the rear attenuator is not on that list, which means that Team Penske violated this rule when they smoothed the transition on the rear attenuator. The best case scenario for enforcing this rule would have been for IndyCar officials to catch the changes when they first appeared on track last season and penalize them with a monetary or points fine at that time, similar to what we see for Prema's recent penalty for modifying a spec part. Since the modified part was missed for so long and only discovered at Indy this week, IndyCar tech officials also had the option to tell Team Penske to swap the parts for conforming ones during any of the earlier technical inspections during the week. Unfortunately, it appears that the parts were not discovered until competing teams raised alarms with IndyCar, so the situation reached a bad scenario that was made even worse by Team Penske technicians attempting to return the parts to original spec. So it
Right.
seems to me that IndyCar shouldn't have penalized them the way they did, but instead they did it to save face for what's by and large their own mistake.
Hmm.
So the other question that was asked is why did McLaughlin's car not get penalized? So it says the number 3 car of Scott McLaughlin was the only car that escaped penalties this week, and that's due to the fact that it had an unmodified rear attenuator, as confirmed by IndyCar after they seized the parts from his original car that he wrecked during qualifying. According to internal sources at Team Penske that are not authorized to speak, the number 3 car had an attenuator from the latest batch that had come from Dallara, and no modifications were made to it, as technical leadership was pleased with the fitment of the externally attached panels and did not see unsightly glue on the edges, so no technical changes were made to those parts. Again, we're getting back to people that are anal about visuals.
That's some nice glue on that one. We're gonna leave it
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah.
Clearly, they were using clear Gorilla, not Elmer's.
Yeah, clearly. They got the whatever. Yeah. So the number 2 and 12 cars were using attenuators that were from an earlier batch and had been cleaned up and resealed and then put back into service after use in previous races. Attenuators don't typically get removed from service unless there's crash damage to the car that may compromise them, so it's not surprising to see them cleaned up and reused multiple times. Once the modified attenuators were identified and banned, Team Penske pulled additional attenuators from the latest batch that they received from Dallara and installed them on the number 2 and number 12 cars. Many have called for additional penalties, such as removing the cars from the race or removing past wins that may have involved those parts, and my belief is that those calls go way too far. Much like moving the entries to 32nd and 33rd went too far since the results have been signed off, especially because the cars used in those races are no longer available to be checked out. So it's kind of a, chicken and the egg thing. IndyCar should have caught it. Penske shouldn't have modified it. But, as with most race teams, they're going to keep doing something until they get told no, So
Right.
for Penske, they're going, hey, we just spent an entire year plus of doing this and nobody said a damn thing. Now you get caught with egg on your face and we get the hammer thrown at us for something
Right.
that is literally just a visual change. It has no bearing on the performance of the car whatsoever. So it's just, the question is raised, if this wasn't Penske, if this was Ganassi, if this was Andretti, if this was Prema, is a big deal made about it? Or is it only being blown out of proportion because of the fact that it's Penske teams in a Penske ran series at a Penske owned track?
Right.
I think it's the latter.
I think it's a little bit of column A and column B. I mean,
I don't think so. If you were to sit there and say that Andretti Autosport was caught doing this, I don't think. I think you have a legion of people that come out and say that they were they would have been penalized too harshly, or that they don't be penalized at all. Like, I think it's just fans are fed up with the conflict of interest that exists because Penske has so much influence through what he owns and runs, and while also operating
that isn't
his
really
race
helping
team.
them right now because Palou
Right.
is winning everything.
Right. But yeah, I mean, if McLaren did this, so I don't think you would have as much of a violent negative reaction if any other team but Penske did what they did.
Well, and now that IndyCar has set this precedent that this is what they're going to do to a team that does modify a part like this, I mean, I would say that unfortunately to the next team that gets has a modified safety part, you get the same book thrown at you.
Well, but that's kind of part of the problem is that they're not even they're kind of following NASCAR a little bit or whatever. Like, they're not consistent
Yeah.
with the penalties because Prema earlier this year at the Thermal Club race had a violation of modifying a spec part, which you would argue the attenuator is a spec part.
Yeah, true.
And all they got was a $25,000 fine, and they lost 10 championship points.
Right.
So they didn't get fined $100,000. They didn't lose their chief strategist. They didn't get moved to the rear of the field. So to me, that alone is already saying that IndyCar is doing this as a massive overcorrection because they're wearing a shitload of egg on their face for not catching this for 18 months.
Right.
And if I'm Roger, I'm naturally pissed off that it's like you're singling my team out and making an example of us for something that you screwed up, but also at the same time that I screwed up because so,
it was me all along. Yeah, does he go in? Does he just go into his office and start screaming at himself? Like,
yeah.
the secretary's outside, like hearing two different voices of him screaming at himself, being like, "I'm not even gonna go in there.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna leave this man alone."
Batman here.
Yeah, you idiot! No, you're the idiot. No, you're the idiot. No, you're the idiot. Just peek
Yeah.
open the door. You okay?
Yeah.
Close the door.
So,
And-
I don't.
Well, and here's the thing too is they did hold a press conference. Doug Bowles did say that he is the one that proposed the penalties, and he talked to Roger, and Roger essentially they're not gonna fight it at all or approve the penalties to get handed out. So, I mean, if you're like I said, you get technically the new president of IndyCar going, "Hey, these are the penalties we're gonna hand out," and then Roger goes, "Yep, okay." Like,
well, because Roger knows that if he fights it, then it's going to look
Yeah.
bad to the
Yeah.
general public.
this is why I'm glad NASCAR does not have a NASCAR run team, because good Lord, would it be a fucking shit show and a half. Even more so when there's a penalty handed out to a NASCAR owned team. I mean, as sad, I mean, I don't know. As hard as it is, if you own a series or are running a series, having a team in the series is always a conflict of interest. Like, there's there's a reason why the NFL doesn't have their own team that they play with, because good Lord, I mean, it'd be as much as you'd like, as much as people like to argue that the Patriots were NFL's team or other stuff like that. Like, I think kind of motorsport is kind of the only place where you can get kind of this unique situation like that, where
Well,
have
even amongst motorsport, IndyCar is the only one that actually has it that I can think of.
Yeah, because Liberty Media, I mean, as much as people want to say that, certain
They have their own
teams are-
issues going on.
certain teams are a Liberty Media team. I mean, or NASCAR has Hendrick as their team or whatever, that it just isn't. I'm trying to think of another sport that's owned by. Yeah, there's just no other sport that's owned by a single person that has that. So I don't know. it's a mess. Although it's made for looking on social media, definitely interesting. So, because it's been interesting to watch just the implosion of the IndyCar fans and the arguments that are spiraling all over the place. So, I don't know. I guess that's it for IndyCar. We can move on to Formula One at Imola. let's see highlights for that race. Max Verstappen made a daring move on the outside, going into turn one, was able to make it stick, took the lead of the race. Let's see here.
My favorite moment that came from that was the meme of George Russell, and it says the pit radio communication. Toto, what's that sound? And it's all you hear
Do
is the
do do do.
Max
Yeah.
Verstappen.
My favorite one is I seen somebody post it. It's literally the initial D, frickin' the O reaction face pasted over the heads of when Max made that move on the outside.
Yeah.
The oh, and then so yeah, Max took the lead. Leclerc and Gasly were having a battle. Leclerc ended up passing Gasly, and Gasly went off into the dirt. And was able to keep going, didn't wreck the car, which was good to see. George Russell and Lando Norris had a pretty decent battle, swapping positions a few times there. There are a lot of drivers that jumped into the pits early to get off the medium tires. Apparently, they were not the best tire to be on for Imola. Let's see here. Ocon stops on track, triggering a VSC. Verstappen was able to jump in the pits and really benefit from that. So it was a good, quick call by their strategists. Yeah, everybody ended up coming into the pits to get off the ones that were on mediums to get off of them. A couple of guys did stay out though and ended up fading back fairly quickly. Let's see. Antonelli ended up losing power and stopped on track. That triggered a full safety car from that because he wasn't in a really good position to for the marshals to get out there quickly to push him back. So they had to bring a crane truck out there to get him off track. Let's see here. Albon tried to pass on the outside of Leclerc, but then outside of Leclerc and ended up going off. He lost a couple of spots. One of them was to Lewis Hamilton as well. Let's see. And then looming a penalty, Leclerc had to give the spot back to Albon to avoid from getting some sort of penalty, to avoid getting a penalty for that. And then Max came away with the win at Imola. So, I mean, it wasn't a horrible F1 race. It was decent. So, again, more of the excitement was from second on back. So, not really for the lead because Max was gone. So,
I'm just gonna keep myself from ranting about tracks.
I think it's for the best.
I mean, like I said, it's
yeah, it was a great race. I don't think a lot of people had Verstappen getting the win there. So that was great
Yeah,
for his championship effort. Supposedly, there was some people talking about how I guess the FIA had a technical directive issued before the Imola weekend that kind of possibly hindered McLaren because it was talking about some of the side panels and tire cooling and certain things like that that in their opinion negated a lot of the advantage that McLaren had created on their car this year, and that's why they didn't have the pace. But we'll see. I think it was a better race than we're going to see at Monaco this year or this weekend.
Well, yeah.
pending rain, I guess.
pending rain. I just every year we go to Monaco, it's another year that I get to bitch and complain that the cars are way too freaking big.
Right.
Like, I'm serious. Like, you take the cars, you make them the size they were back in 2008. You suddenly have exciting racing at Monaco. Simple
Mhm.
as that.
Right.
And you don't need a fucking 86 the track off the schedule.
Careful using the
Saying.
words 86.
Secret Service. confirmed.
Yeah, this is a different podcast.
We call this the rents from the rig.
We don't have our tinfoil hats on. It's not a conspiracy podcast. All right. Yeah. Moving on to the NASCAR All-Star race this weekend. This past weekend. Some few highlights I have from that. Let's see here. Suarez ended up blowing a tire and hitting the wall.
Do we want to talk about the open race before the main?
Well, I don't really have highlights to the open race because I didn't get to watch the race, and then NASCAR didn't post the open race highlights. So, I
Okay.
mean, if you want to, like I said, I heard it was a freaking crazy race. So,
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I felt bad for Shane Van Gisbergen because he was cruising in the second stage to the point where him and his crew chief were actually discussing about backing off the pace in an attempt to maybe save the tires. And then, yeah, came in on the stage break, took 4 tires along with somebody else. I forget who. Who ended up? No, not Hunter. Not Jen Hunter. Nemechek. It was somebody else that was in contention at the end. Anyway, meanwhile, Bubba and others, only took 2 tires to try and get position, and so seeing the dynamic play out of the 2 tires versus 4 tires, and SVG kind of got trapped for several laps and kind of burned away the advantage.
Yeah.
Just couldn't get clean air, and then yeah, Bubba got ran down and got used up and thrown into the wall. I think by Eric Jones, and dropped to 7th after he was running second. And John Hunter worked his way up to the second transfer spot, and it was
Right.
a thrilling end of the open race. A lot of chaos, a lot of leaning on cars, a lot of slide jobs, and driving people up into the wall and whatnot. So
Yeah.
proper old school NASCAR racing.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, unfortunately, they didn't post any of the highlights for it, so I couldn't really comment too much on it. But yeah, I did hear that the open race was like was the race to watch. So yeah, like I said, Suarez ended up blowing a tire and hitting the wall. They ended up throwing an all-star caution at lap 103. Unfortunately for Austin Cindric, he had a motor failure. So he was out of the race. Keselowski ended up getting loose and hitting the wall. He broke the suspension on his car. Kyle Larson was having problems, and then they brought Michael Waltrip out to throw the promoter's caution, and he ended up throwing the yellow flag on the track. So, I mean, there's that.
Speaking of having problems,
his wrist game was not there. So yeah, Larson ended up having a bent toe link from that, and and then the rest of the race ran caution free, and Christopher Bell ended up winning. Although apparently in the post race interviews, when they interviewed Joey Logano, he was like super pissed off at Christopher Bell he said he ran into him and drove him off the track, and I don't know. That was weird seeing that. Like, I heard about it, and then I went back and watched the NASCAR interview on it, and I was like, well, compared to the highlights, like, they both were running each other hard, but I didn't ever see anything that was super egregious for, like, wrecking or anything like that. So I don't know what was going on with Joey there on that interview.
yeah, I think just typical Logano bitching because he didn't come out on top.
Yeah.
It's like Christopher Bell said, he's seen Joey do way worse stuff. So,
Right. So
yeah,
yeah.
it'd be hilarious to see another Chipper Jones tweet about it.
Yeah. Just get on him. So yeah, Christopher Bell came away with the win. Got $1 million.
Do you see where the drivers were complaining that $1 million isn't a big enough prize pool nowadays? Because it's
Well, I
keeping up
mean, the
with
price of it
inflation.
hasn't changed since 2007. So, I
But
mean,
like you're talking to guys that are multimillionaires every year. They're in the sport, so
yeah. Well, I
like,
mean, the
what-
technically the money doesn't even go all to them either. It gets split up amongst the team, but
yeah. But I mean, you're sitting there telling me that Joey Logano or Christopher Bell or Kyle Larson aren't mega millionaires.
oh yeah,
It's like, okay, $1 million might mean something to John Hunter Nemechek or Ty Gibbs, but
right,
all those guys, I guarantee, are not hurting for money.
right, yeah. So, like I said, it was cool to see Bell get his first All-Star win. So, yeah, that's it for on track news. Move to some off track stuff. It was announced today that the Hall of Fame ballot was revealed, or the Hall of Fame was nominees were revealed. On that list was Kurt Busch, which I was surprised to see his name added or on get the nomination. And then Ray Hendrick and Harry Gant were also involved. Were also nominated, as well as Executive Humphrey Wheeler was named for the Landmark Award winner for his contribution to the sport. So yeah, it was pretty interesting to see. Like I said, I was surprised to see Kurt Busch's name on there so soon and get the actual nomination. Harry Gant, I mean, he's a legend of the sport. So, and then
Supposedly, that's what Robert Duvall's character in Days of Thunder is based on his career, right?
yeah, yep. And then so yeah, it was and then Ray Hendrick, which he was a prolific modified driver with 700, one of the winningest drivers of all time with more than 700 modified and late model sportsman wins between 1950 and 1988.
That's crazy.
Yeah, just a legend in the short track world. So yeah, and then obviously the actual induction ceremony won't be until January 23rd next year. So yeah.
Well, I do have another technically it's off track but on track at the same time. So I guess over the weekend Korea had their quote unquote Festival of Speed or whatever it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, the End Festival.
Yeah, the End Festival. I can't remember. But pretty much what happened
Wording.
was so they're unveiling their new like touring cars for like entry level.
Mhm.
And I guess they have the N1 class, the N2 class. I guess the N2 class apparently all they did was upgrade the brakes and quote unquote put roll cages in the Elantra ends.
Okay.
And apparently they
cars.
forgot to upgrade all the cooling and all the other parts that come with braking. And
Okay.
apparently they cooked their brakes after 7 laps, and three cars went into the wall.
Whoops.
And then promptly half of the racers boycotted the event.
Damn. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, not a not
The
something
funny
you want to
thing to
have.
read about that was, I don't know if it was on a Hyundai forum or just comments from a news article talking about it, but a lot of guys were talking about how they knew people that had put those 4P performance brake systems
Yeah.
on their street cars and
Mhm.
had absolutely terrible brake feel and whatnot. So they're like could fully understand how what happened in the race could happen.
Right. That's funny. All right, transitioning to our next off-track topic here. It was announced that NASCAR Fox lead analyst Mike Joy will be driving in the historic Trans Am Series race at Sonoma coming up the weekend of the NASCAR Toyota Save Mart 350. It's July 11th through the 13th. This Joy will be driving a 1970 Chevrolet Camaro Z28, a historical car originally raced by Jerry Thompson for Tony D. Lorenzo's owned Cornering Racing team with factory backing. Sonoma's own Chris Drysdale will prep the car. So obviously the historic Trans Am series features a remarkable collection of cars, including from 66 to 72. Obviously big names like Parnelli Jones, Dan Gurney, Mark Donahue, George Fulmer, Sam Posey. All those guys raced in that series back in the day. Like that was like prime Trans Am racing time.
Yeah, true showroom stock type.
Yeah, depending on if your name wasn't Penske,
Yeah.
acid dipping your cars.
Oh please, Parnelli Jones was doing that shit too.
I know, but yeah, I always like listen to those little car fat or the little car shorts. I can't remember what TV program that or what car program that was on when they interview those guys and stuff that talk about historical racing and shit. It's always good to see. But yeah, so good to see, cool to see Mike Joy get behind the wheel of a race car and see how well he'll do for the historic race. Although it's generally sometimes with the historic races, they're not they're not running 10 tenths. Although there are a couple of guys that do get out there and run them cars 10 tenths. So
Nothing like Greenwood Festival.
yeah. So.
Never seen
Right.
so many historic cars get junked at a festival.
Oh man, yeah. You want to have your heart hurt? Go look. The Goodwood Festival of Speed, and go look up crashes. Oh boy, that'll you'll see millions and millions of historical dollars going down the tubes. So, yeah, that's all I've got for the show notes and topics. So yeah, this coming weekend is Memorial Day weekend here in the United States, which means we'll have the Monaco Grand Prix in the morning, the Indy 500 in the afternoon, and the Coke 600 at night.
Assuming the Indy 500 doesn't get rained out.
Yeah, hopefully the weather's holding off. Actually, I'm gonna go pull up my phone and tornado warnings for the south. Yikes. So yeah, let's pull up Speedway, Indiana here. And the weather forecast, yeah, is looking 60% chance of rain on Sunday. Although it's saying from 12 a.m. and tapering off at about 10:45 a.m. So
It's probably best case scenario.
yeah. Well, and they're definitely gonna. Their only gap is going to be Sunday because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's 100% chance of rain for the rest of the week. So, yeah. I don't know. Look at the Charlotte to see if there's predicted rain for that weekend or for there as well. I don't think there is. Sunday, 40% chance of rain there, but yeah, it's their rain's coming after 12 p.m. So
Not good.
yeah, interesting. But yeah, so yeah, next week we will be talking about obviously all 3 races there. Any other changes that or any other news topics and stuff that come up from past weekend in motorsports. Looking for the Monaco. Yeah, looks like it's going to be 0% chance of rain. So,
Darn, we're not
The
going to even get
one
any
race we
interesting.
want rained happening.
yeah, Sunday 0% chance of rain, 65. Yeah, Saturday. So Thursday 100% chance of rain. Friday 100% chance of rain. Saturday 100% chance of rain. Sunday 0.
So what we need to do is move Monaco to Saturday, and then Indy to also Saturday, and we'll get the result we want.
Right. So yeah. Yeah, we'll be back next week and with all the racing topics and news to talk about. So we will talk to you guys next week.
Bye, everybody.
See you later. Bye.